So welcome to our second event of business leadership in Spokane. We had one a month or two ago. We had a great turnout, and I'm happy that you braved the dark and the rain to make it here tonight. You're in for a treat. Our speaker, can't say I've heard her hold forth, but I've definitely listened to her, and she's going to keep you riveted to your seats about her firm, her profession, and her life. So my apologies to those who have heard this before, but I want to say why we're here at the Business Leadership Series, and that first of all is to listen, to actually find out what these successful business people have done and how they got there, which is really a fun story in most cases. Second of all, we want you to be inspired. And then last of all, we want you to have fun. And part of that fun is asking questions. So students, please don't be bashful. We reserve a lot of time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. And part of the fun also is that we're going to feed you, and there is something you can nosh on before you go to your classes. So again, welcome. I forgot to mention my name. I'm Patrick Jones. I run the Institute for Public Policy, and I'm one of the two sponsors of the series along with the School of Business and Accounting. All right, so I would like to invite Professor Provost Dr. Smith up, and then we will have our presentation right after Dr. Smith says some remarks of welcome. So would you please welcome Dr. Lorenzo Smith, Provost.
Thank you, Dr. Jones. Well, what a pleasure it is to speak to you tonight. I enjoyed the last presentation a few months ago. On behalf of President McMahon, I want to welcome everyone here. I want to welcome, of course, Kemper Rojas. Look forward to the presentation or what you have to say. One of the things I just want to reflect on, talk a little bit about Eastern Washington University. And when I think about success for our students, I always ask them, when you finish your career and you look back at your career, what will make you most proud? I ask that actually sometimes when I interview faculty. What would make you most proud when you look back at your career? Is it the research? Is it the teaching? Is it all the activities? And every single one of them, including students, say something to the effect that I want to be remembered as someone who helped other people, who had an impact. Now, they didn't get specific about their research, even their major, but I want to be known for someone who helped other people. And that is something that is common, students, in our DNA. Your fulfillment in your career will be intimately connected to how well you see that connection between what you learn in the classroom and how you're actually helping other people. And one of the best ways to do that, to really make that connection, is, of course, by applying what you learn in the classroom to the real world, to solving problems. We want you students to think critically, grow professionally, achieve your goals so you can contribute to society in a way that makes a difference, in a way that resonates with you. And so at Eastern, we are the region's polytechnic. And what that means is that students, when you take what you learn in the classroom and you apply it to solving problems, whether it's accounting, whether it's engineering, whether it's history, you are taking what you've learned in the classroom and applying it to solve real-world problems. And that is the essence of the Polytechnic, making that connection between that math equation or that theory or whatever it may be to helping other people. That is Eastern Washington University. When we talk about the Polytechnic, that's our expectation, and we are continuing to lean into that. Now, I want to say that Again, I want to express great appreciation for Kemper Rojas for taking a lot of time. Her very busy schedule. One of the best parts about being in higher education is listening, as Dr. Jones mentioned, and learning. And that's one of the best part about being a provost, listening and learning. And I've read a little bit about you, and I greatly appreciate your leadership philosophy. So I want to take just a minute or two and talk about what I've gleaned from what I've read about Kemper Rojas. Your leadership philosophy resonates greatly with me. And I think it's going to resonate greatly with the students and the staff and faculty here listening. You rose up through the ranks, demonstrating, you said, success has no single background. And as perhaps you'll explain, I mean, she has a marine zoology degree. So the path is not accounting necessarily initially, but she ends up as in the field of accounting. She founded a firm-wide mentoring program. That resonates with me, helping young professionals. And your message, and I will quote, it says, "Find a company where your personality fits and where your work will be valued and cultivated." That's aligned with our values at Eastern, making that alignment. I just want to say that your leadership style makes me a better provost. And that helps me serve the faculty and staff better. And I thank you for that. It helps us all become one of the greatest universities in the world, and it helps us lean into the meaning of Polytechnic, the region's Polytechnic. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time with us.
All right. Let us bring a different part of our traditional program to the fore, and I'm going to have Jennifer Hicks come up and explain what this is all about. Jennifer is the Advancement Director for the CSTEM College and has something pretty fun to show you tonight. So
Thank you, Dr.
take it away.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jennifer Hicks, Director of Philanthropy for the College of STEM, and thank you for being here tonight. At Eastern Washington University, we are deeply grateful for the partnerships that make innovation, learning, and community impact possible. And tonight we're going to celebrate Itron, not only for their significant support of EWU, but for their ongoing commitment to developing the next generation of thinkers and problem solvers. So we have a new donor recognition sign in the room over here, the lab over this way, which I'm going to invite you to look at after this evening's program is over at 6:30. But it was designed by our own EWU design students under the guidance of faculty member Travis Masingale. And it is a beautiful symbol of what can happen when education and industry come together. So to share a little bit about that process, I'd like to invite Travis to come on up and say a few words.
Hi. Thank you, Dr. Smith, for such a great setup on applied learning. This project gave our students a chance to work on something real, not a classroom simulation, but real applied learning, a piece of design that will live on campus for years. They moved from early sketches and materials, fabrication and refinement, and they did it as a collaborative team. The final result reflects both Itron's commitment to innovation and EWU's ongoing partnership with them. The students are proud of the work. They know they built something that honors our donors and communicates the values we talk about in our program. Design as a problem-solving tool, creativity with purpose, and gratitude for the people who support this place. We appreciate Itron's support, not just for this project, but for giving our students applied learning experiences that push their skills and confidence forward. And with that, I'll turn it over to Callie Bendickson from Itron.
Thank you, Travis, and thank you everyone here for letting us tag team on your event tonight. It's always nice to bring people together and, allow students to see the opportunity to interact with business leaders as well, so we appreciate that. And a little background on the story. So I'm Callie Bendickson. I lead corporate social responsibility and community relations at Itron, and that includes our corporate philanthropy. We've had a long-standing partnership and engagement with Eastern Washington University, and with the Catalyst building down here, ironically at Itron, at our headquarters in Liberty Lake, we have an innovation hub. So it just felt like the perfect fit to put our branding and hang our brand within that room, and it's just been such an incredible project to work with students. So Itron's honored to be a part of Eastern Washington University's history. Supporting this university and its students is an investment in our future and our region. At Itron, we believe in the power of education and collaboration and innovation, and Eastern Washington University embodies all three. So seeing how the design students captured that partnership and our branding, our message, our mission, at Itron, we believe the way we manage energy and water will define this century, and we really are looking for that next generation of talent and innovators to help solve the problems that you mentioned, the problems that we're facing as a society. So on behalf of everyone at Itron, we're so grateful for the chance to make a difference together. Congratulations to the students. To Travis, thank you for your leadership and your support. I think this experience for the students, allowing them to really go through the process and learn from our incredible talent, Robert, who's here tonight and works on our design team, to give that global perspective and experience and be able to, network with them and allow them to have a long relationship with us as they explore and launch. We talked about a launch pad today, launch into their future careers. So we're happy to be a part of that journey, and we just thank the faculty, the university, and we're proud to be here today. So thanks for having us.
Well, thank you, Callie, and thank you again to everyone who made this project possible, especially our students over there. So I'm going to turn this back over to Dr. Jones. Thank you for allowing us to do this in your program tonight.
All right, let's start our regular programming. And I just wanted to say that for those of you who are new to these events, we have three parts. We're going to have a presentation by our featured speaker, and we've left ample room for question and answers, as I mentioned, and then there's a half hour of mingle time after the Q&A formally ends. So let me just, you've heard from Provost Smith a little bit about our speaker, but let me add to this. Kemper Rojas is not an eagle by her education, but she might as well be. Her husband, Jose, is on the faculty, and Kemper has recently joined the advisory council to the college we're in, which is called Professional Program. So thank you for that. And as you've seen in maybe the talk advertising, Kemper is the managing principal, which I interpret that, I'm not quite sure, but I think it's called the boss, of her firm, which is a well-known accounting firm called Frucci and Associates. She joined Frucci and Associates over 23 years ago, I think relatively fresh out of college, worked up the ranks, as you heard from Dr. Smith, from managing member to managing partner and now managing principal. So I just wanted, I know she's going to touch on this, but I wanted to point out, especially with Itron in the room, Spokane doesn't have too many publicly headquartered companies. Itron is one of the big exceptions. And yet that's how Kemper has really carved out a niche for herself in a very unique way, and I think you're going to talk about that. Besides public company audits, she does work in litigation support services, and then what I find interesting in a much different vein, working with nonprofits on a consulting basis. She's a proud graduate, yes, being a Husky, University of Washington, and she may talk about that. But as you heard from Dr. Smith, in a field far away from accounting. So let's hear about that personal story, that odyssey, the transformation she's been a big part of at Frucci and Associates, and any of her thoughts on public accounting today. So would you please welcome Kemper Rojas to the stage. And while she's coming up, I just wanted to mention that we do have streaming going on, and during the Q&A, we hope those of you who are tuning in will feel free to ask questions, and we'll try to get them answered. And then the tape of this session, of this talk, will be available on the YouTube channel of the business school within a week. Are you ready, young lady?
I believe so.
Okay.
Thank you for the warm welcome. That was very kind. I will say that I'm an accountant, so as far as being outgoing and as dynamic speaker, that's not in our DNA typically, so just bear with me. I'm happy to be here. I lived in Cheney for 6 years, right next to Eastern. And our children live there now, so we're pretty baked into the Eastern culture. Just to start, Dr. Jones asked me to kind of go through my history. I'm an Air Force brat, which means I moved every 2 years throughout my life. At a minimum, I went to 3 different first grades, lived all over the world, lived in Italy for a couple years when I was in middle school. And then my dad ended up at the Pentagon, and when he retired, he let my mom choose anywhere in the United States, and she chose Chewelah, Washington. So I went from Washington, D.C. to little Chewelah. So that was rough for my high school career, but after that went to UW and then ended up back over here in Spokane once I appreciated the area a little bit more. Fresh out of college, I did have a degree in zoology. I have a degree in zoology, which is, it was marine biology based, which I really just wanted to scuba dive with dolphins, and I found out that that's more of a hobby. So that would have been nice to figure out before I went into college. So after that, I got married to my wonderful husband and decided that I needed to just go work and get a job, and started as the receptionist at Frucci & Associates. And within a month, they had me move off the front desk, and I became, at the time, there was only one partner. I became his executive assistant. And during that time, he's a wonderful man, Paul Frucci Sr. If you ever get the chance to meet him, he's just unbelievable, he's just wonderful. During that time, he just kept feeding me more and more client work. And he actually, he had me take over the network. I took over managing the firm, the office manager, firm administrator position, network administrator, did a lot of consulting with clients. And eventually, he said, I think that you're the right person to be a partner, but you need to go back to get to school. You need to go get your accounting stuff. So he actually ended up paying for me for my school in order for me to get enough classes in order to sit for the CPA exam. So I passed it, and since then kind of taken off, and he decided to make me the managing partner, and I've held that role since 2008. So we now have 9 partners. At that time, there was only 3 of us. He retained a partnership, and then his son, Paul Frucci Jr., and myself became partners. So it was the 3 of us, and we managed the firm for quite a while until we kept growing, and we now have 9 partners. And Matt Michaels is one of them. He sits on the board, the accounting department board as well, advisory board. I just would like to say that that is part of our philosophy within our firm. So as a part of me creating that mentor program, that was based out of him. He mentored me, and I was able to see how he brought out potential and things that I didn't even know about myself. And so we wanted to do the same thing and bring it to everybody that we had. So that was, yes, I developed it and I did it, but it was based on him being a big role in that. So as a part of the managing partner role, I guess that's the boss, it's kind of like the CEO role. I also have a book of business. So I work with public companies that trade on stock exchanges. So we do a lot of PCAOB audits. I don't know how many accounting students we have in here, but hopefully a lot of you have heard of the PCAOB. So that's the government entity that we are regulated by. But companies that trade on stock exchanges are required to do a lot of compliance work. They're required to file audited financial statements every year, quarterly reviews, and so they hire us to come in and work through that whole process. with them. So that is my book of business, along with I do a lot of litigation support work. So I work with attorneys and work on court cases and that kind of thing, along with fractional CFO work. So that's for companies that can't really afford a full-time CFO, and they need consulting, and they need help with their financials and their books and understanding what their company is doing and how they're going about their business. Quickly, I guess I'll go through my certifications. I've got a lot. So when you do litigation support, the attorneys like a lot of acronyms after your name. So I tend to just went and got them. So in addition to a CPA, I'm a certified fraud examiner. I'm a certified information technology professional, a CITP, but you can only be a CITP if you're also a CPA. So it's directly linked to the CPA. CGMA, so Chartered Global Management Accountant. And that's because we work with international clients. And then I just recently had to go out and get a CCFI, which I can't even remember what it stands for now. Certified Cryptocurrency Forensic Investigator, because so many of our clients now are holding cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and software as a service with the platform that they use, the mining and all of the different blockchain. So had to kind of continue to learn, continue to be that student for the rest of your life because things change so fast. So the certifications are there. There's a lot of continuing professional education, but the certifications are there so that when a client calls that says, how do I know that you have that knowledge and expertise, you can just point to the certification and then they're happy. So a little bit about our firm. Frucci & Associates has been around since 1938. Started by Roger Frucci Sr. It was a traditional core accounting, taxes, consulting type firm. When I became a partner in 2008, audit was only 2% roughly of our firm. And so as a part of me becoming the partner, I decided I wanted to go do some acquisitions. I wanted to grow the audit side of things because if you look at a lot of the larger firms, the audit had a much larger role in the firm. So did 5 or 6 acquisitions, and eventually in 2012 I identified a small niche firm, audit firm in Spokane that did PCAOB audits, which that's a tough industry to get into. You don't just join it. It's a good way to get shut down. So this was an avenue in order to gain the requisite knowledge and experience so that we could grow that side of the firm. Now, our firm is roughly 50% audit and 50% tax and consulting and accounting. We've grown 241% since 2008. So we've seen some pretty significant growth. Let's see. So I did want to go over the PCAOB work because a lot of people don't understand it. So again, these are companies that trade on our stock exchanges, and the government has a lot of regulation for them so that they can't just go to anybody and say, here's our numbers, come invest in us. So they see firms that are registered with the PCAOB as a gatekeeper to the financial industry. We're there to protect the investors, so even though they hire us and they are our clients, we're there to kind of put a stopper. So when they say, oh, we had 30 million in revenues, and we get in there and we're like, no, you really only had 1. This is all, a loan or whatever it is. So that's kind of our role. That's how we see ourselves. As a part of that, there are not that many in Spokane, Washington. There's Itron, and we would love to have Itron, but we don't have Itron. So of my public company clients, I don't have a single client in Spokane. So my clients are all over the United States, in Canada. I'm also licensed in Canada because I can't do that work in Canada unless I got licensed there, and all over the world. So I even took a team to Morocco in February. It was a great time. It was in this little tiny port, flew into Marrakesh, and then drove in a car for 3 hours with our drivers. So we get to, one of the favorite things about my job is that we bring money into Spokane. We have a whole lot of employees. We have 60 families that we take care of with our business. And that money is coming from, a lot of it, 50% of it or so, is coming from outside of Spokane. So I'm really proud of that point of our firm. I love that we do that. We went to Greece 3 times in 9 months. We had a couple different shipping companies there that we worked with. So that's kind of one of the cool things that we do that's different. It is hard to do that work. So I put the statistics on here. It's less than 1% of the firms in the United States are registered to do that type work. And of the ones that are registered, really only 0.27% of those actually do that work. So of the firms, there's like 88,000 firms, only 0.27 of them have one public company audit or client that they work with. So it's very niche. And it is difficult and it is stressful sometimes, but it's also very rewarding. Okay, so Dr. Jones wanted me to kind of talk a little bit about the change over the years of the accounting world. And I was thinking, oh, I'm too young to do that, but then I realized I've been there over a couple decades, so I probably can. So when I first started, everything was paper-based, which is probably weird for some of you guys, but everything was paper-based. We had a massive warehouse that had, every time they did a tax return, we would copy all the client work papers, and we would prepare it, and then print out all the different files, and then we would take their big file and stick it in a warehouse. And we had not only a basement full in the building we were at, but a whole separate warehouse full of paper. So after I started, it was within 5 years, kind of got everybody to be digital, have our clients give us the stuff digitally or scan it instead of copying it. There's a lot to be said for not having to walk all the way down to the basement to try to find a file to answer a client's question when you could just pull it up on your computer. So we went through that process. That was kind of a slow process that we all went through. And then we moved towards technology and specialization. So people like me starting to get into niches, and not just being a generalist in everything. So kind of seeing that, the offshoring of work, and that's still going on now, where they have whole firms in Philippines or Colombia or wherever, doing the work at night while you're sleeping, and you get up the next day and the tax returns are done. We don't do that. A lot of firms do. You do have to notify all your clients, and we figured that they might not like that. So as of right now, we're not doing that. In 2020, there was a shift with COVID. So COVID happened, and that was the time for panic, because everybody's hearing how everything's going to be shut down, and how are we supposed to function? You know, we support so many businesses in their day-to-day lives, their payroll, their everything, and so we found out that, oh, we were considered essential. So what that meant is that while everyone wasn't working, we were still coming into the office, we were still doing our jobs, we were still supporting. I got on an airplane to a client, and I was the only one. There was like 10 of us on the airplane, this massive airplane. It was just surreal. And so with that shift, we also realized that there's a lot of people that, even though we could come into the office, they didn't want to. They were scared. They were scared of being sick. So we set up everyone to work remote and hybrid if they wanted to. And that changed pretty much across the board in the US, right? There's a lot of companies now that do that, and it's almost expected for some industries. And so in ours, we have maintained that policy. It's still hybrid for most of us, but it also opened us up to hire outside of Spokane. So we have employees now in Arkansas, and in a couple in Texas, and Denver, and Chicago, kind of all over. Not in California yet, but so we even have one in Hawaii. So COVID made a big change. A lot of things are in the cloud now, so we don't have a local server. everything's in the cloud. So if I work in Hawaii, I'm getting the same exact setup as when I'm working here. So that was a big change, I think, in the accounting industry. And then, of course, AI and all of that technology coming along, and everyone telling us that our jobs are going away, and that every industry is changing, and that we're all going to be obsolete. So those are kind of the things that have changed. And I would say even within the last 5 years, there's been a large uptick in mergers and acquisitions. So a lot of the firms are combining into these behemoths with private equity. Private equity is coming in and they're buying a certain percentage of the firm, and then they're just giving them tons of money to invest in AI and to invest in acquiring other firms like ours. So, and I don't know, like Moss Adams just merged with Baker Tilly. Those were two massive firms, and they just merged into one behemoth, and they're like the part of the big five now instead of just the big four. So it's a really interesting dynamic, but it also can be a little bit unnerving. So you have to continue to be flexible and be able to pivot and move with where the industry is going, because it's moving so much faster than it used to. Firm initiatives. So, like I said before, since 2008, we've grown 241%. Right now, we're looking at, okay, we're at a size where we need to pivot again. We're needing more infrastructure, as an example. So this AI that is just sweeping right now, we're really heavily investing in what that looks like for us. Luckily, in the accounting industry, there's a shortage of accountants. And so AI is actually a blessing, in my opinion, because when I get new students in, I'm teaching them how to use the AI and then to analyze what comes out of it, instead of doing all the menial tasks that take 20 hours to do. And then we analyze what they did. So recently we have this software, and we just trained all the staff on it. So as an example, as a part of an audit, at the beginning of an audit, we get all the board minutes for the past 2 years. And we give it to the staff. And the staff come in, and they're creating a spreadsheet. We love our spreadsheets. And they go through, and they're determining, okay, they just approved a whole bunch of new stock issuances. They approved another salaried position. They are buying a new lease. They're doing all these different things. So they're supposed to summarize all of these and put it into a spreadsheet, and then analyze what is the effect on the audit and our plan to do the audit. Where's risk? Oh, well, we need to we need to make sure that we're really focusing on equity, making sure that they're valuing the equity that they're going to issue. This can take hours. We're talking 10 to 20 hours. It's a lot of work. It has to be done. And with this software that we just got, and I trained our staff, now what they're doing is they're taking those, let's say, 30 documents that are each 15 pages long, uploading it into the system, into the software, and then we've set all these steps for it that we want it to go through as it's going through the data, through these things. It takes literally 10 minutes. Now that staff person gets the spreadsheet, they're going to spot check it. They're going to go through and say, yeah, this is functioning, it worked. And then they're going to see and still analyze it. They're still going to do that critical thinking piece, and they're still going to go through it. But now, instead of something that I'm like, thank goodness I don't have to do that, the staff is going to do that, they get to do something where they just learned a whole new software and a whole new skill and still use critical thinking, and we might have just saved a heck of a lot of time on that audit and helped save some of the problems that we have with staffing, where there's a shortage. So I'm actually very much excited about AI. There is a lot of concern about it, but I think if we just lean into it, it's going to be another piece of software and technology that makes us better at our jobs. We'll be able to dig in more. Maybe they'll be able to flag fraud easier for us. So I'm excited about the AI work. And I feel like I'm not paying attention at all to the time. So when Okay. So my goal is to invest more in AI, honestly. I'm totally in. And continuing to prove our efficiencies. And I also want some of our partners to develop their niches more. So trying to work on a litigation support team as opposed to me just doing all the litigation support. So that's one of my short-term initiatives that I'm working on. So traits and qualities that we're looking at for recent grads. Every year, we see a lot of students that are coming through and applying for our internship positions. And I would highly recommend doing an internship. It helps you to know, do I like tax, or no, that was awful, I do not like tax. Same thing on the audit side. But it also helps to differentiate you from all the resumes coming in, right? It's sometimes hard for us to know who's gonna do well, who doesn't, and it's helpful to see someone that has some experience on there. But when we're interviewing students and when we're looking at people, it's not just how much they know, it's really how they apply it. Are you thinking critically when you are doing something, or are you just rote following debits and credits, debits and credits? Do you understand the why behind it? Do you understand, and if you don't, that's fine, you're brand new. Are you interested in it? Are you interested in the why? Do you wanna learn? And understanding that this whole career is constantly evolving and changing. So your whole career, you're gonna be learning new stuff because every year they do a new tax bill. Every year they've decided to do new auditing standards and accounting standards. So it's one of those things where you have to be okay with constantly learning and constantly feeling like, oh, I finally get it. Oh, it changed, awesome. And constantly being okay with that. Some days are better than others, but that is kind of what we're looking for in someone. Not someone who's set in stone, not someone who's really defensive if they get a review note, and wanting to learn and understand what they did wrong or how to be better. Yeah, so curiosity and lifelong learning. That was my long-winded way of doing that. Adaptability and being tech savvy. So when I email out to my group and say, hey, I have this new software that I'm testing and demoing, I need a team of people. I want people at all different levels to come with me, help me demo this. And I love it when people raise their hand and they're just super excited, and I have to pick and choose because I can't take all of them. So we're looking for that kind of a thing. Again, the learning. Being able to communicate well and collaborating. We work as a part of a team. So when we go to Morocco, I get to spend 36 hours next to that person as we travel. So being able to hold a conversation would be lovely, but also just being a good travel companion and someone that is, again, flexible and someone who has a good personality that can handle adversity and handle being really tired and realizing that we're now gonna sit in the Paris airport for 4 hours, longer than we wanted. So those are all things that we're looking for. Being able to ask questions, not being scared to ask questions is a big deal when you're learning. And then integrity and professional judgment. I cannot stress enough how important it is that we uphold the integrity of our industry. The government is looking for us to do it, the investors are looking for us to do it, the IRS is looking for us to do it, and there are so many times where we get pressured and pushed and asked to bend a little bit, and we just can't. It's one of those things where that is the whole basis of our profession. We are trusted advisors. So if you have someone that is willing to bend, that's scary for all of us, I would think. So we really try to make sure that the tone at the top at our firm is always quality first. And if you get into a sticky situation where you're asked or pressured to do something, to sign off on that audit report knowing that they didn't really give you the support that you need, that you bring that to me, you bring that to the other audit partners, that you're not in this alone. We do not want you handling that on your own, actually. We would love to be involved. And also accountability. It's the same thing. There are some things that can set you apart, again, when you're applying for jobs. Knowing data analytics, things like Power BI, Excel Power Query, any of those type things that you can just get familiar with. We live and breathe in our Excel, we love it. Becoming familiar with the AI tools that are out there. I mean, we all know ChatGPT, understanding that ChatGPT can get its information from anywhere. Anybody's posts on Reddit, it can really just get the information anywhere. So not relying on it, but understanding other AI tools that are available too. Being comfortable with remote work settings, knowing how to use Teams. I would think that a lot of the students have probably taken online classes and are familiar with that kind of stuff. And then personally, I think it's important to understand things like cybersecurity and digital assets. You don't have to know in depth, but have a pretty good understanding, at least a high level understanding of those type things is very helpful. So if a client calls in and it's a new industry and they're talking about blockchain and the mining and all these different cryptocurrencies and tokens, you may not be able to audit yet, but at least you can have the conversation with them and ask appropriate questions. So those are, for me, the most important aspects of what's important and what could set you apart as a student. Other than that, I think I'm to the point of questions, unless there's anything you'd like me to expand on.
Hold that thought. We're going to have some Q&A right now, and I'm going to invite to the stage our head of accounting programs, Professor Lei Dong. If you'd come up, Lei, and we'll get started. She's got some prepared questions for Kemper, a couple, and then we hope the baton will be passed to you all. So think about the questions you'd like to ask Kemper that she may have covered in the talk, or perhaps that she didn't cover in the talk and that you still like to ask. So come on up, Lei, and we'll get started.
All right. Just check. Thank you, Kemper. I'm really excited to have you today.
Oh, good.
Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
Really enjoy your presentation, and you pick a very interesting topic. I love it. I learned a lot. Thank you. Yeah.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and just to kick off this Q&A session, I will start with some of my questions, maybe 2 or 3 questions. Then I'll open the floor to you. So you're very welcome to ask your questions. I want to get as many questions as possible from you. So, I will just start with my first question. Actually, a lot of questions I prepared are touched upon by your presentation. So I want to expand on, a lot of what you just said. Okay? So the first question I have is about career advancement and leadership styles. I noticed that you actually start your career from an untraditional path. Right? You start as a receptionist, then move on very quickly, right, to the top management role. What do you think the skills or the qualities you have that made you stand out from other people?
Wow. I do know that I was blessed to be a receptionist in the firm that I got put in. So I hustled. I worked very hard. Anytime that there was downtime, I asked, what else can I be doing? So I always raised my hand when they needed help. I was constantly trying to be as valuable as I could in my role, which is why I became the executive assistant pretty quickly, is because I think he was like, oh my gosh, I could just use you all the time. But as a part of that, if he was like, no, you're fine, I was constantly trying to make the firm better. So I was constantly trying to see where there was inefficiencies, where maybe I was becoming a student of the industry, the accounting industry. What are we comparing our benchmarks to other benchmarks? So constantly trying to make the firm better and to bring, it was my idea to make us paperless. It was my idea to go out and acquire the firms. It was my idea to, so constantly not just getting into the grind of the client work, because that is a trap that a lot of people fall into. There's always more client work to do, and you can get really stagnant and stale right there, just doing the client work. So really making sure that I prioritized and carved out a chunk of my time to constantly make sure that we were staying on top of everything.
Because you're really good at finding any inefficiency and areas for improvements, and also constantly being available. Okay, that's wonderful. Yeah, I guess every firm would love to have you. My second question is about AI. I feel like if I don't ask question about AI, I will miss something important, right? And you talk about AI a lot, and you are excited about coming up from AI. I'm excited too. I feel like a lot of the benefits about AI have been talked a lot. But with AI, a lot of people actually raise concerns and also questions about the other aspects of AI. I mean, accounting profession is highly regulated, and how do you make sure AI comply with all the rules, standards, laws, right? There's one thing, and also as CPA, we have to comply with codes of conduct. How do you train AI to be, honest, and also with professional skepticism and all the other standards in codes of conduct? I'm wondering whether there are any other firms who are talking about the concerns or ethical, legal implications of AI in accounting.
Absolutely. So it is not replacing the human aspect. We are in charge of it. So if I use it incorrectly, it's on me. So as an example, it's kind of the same thing as if one of my staff does something inappropriate, or and I rely on that staff, that's on me, right? And I put the audit out because I relied on that staff. I shouldn't be doing that. That's my job, is to get into there, is to review it, make sure it's appropriate, maintain my professional skepticism, and not just accept what it puts out. So as an example, like I said, ChatGPT, let's say we have a client, their attorney created some new convertible note that has nothing to do with GAAP, and nobody knows how to account for it. I can stick that into ChatGPT, and I can say, how do I account for this? And it's gonna spit out something. And if I rely on that, that's on me. But because I know that ChatGPT is just gonna give me whatever it wants. So it's our role to make sure that we're still doing our job. It's our role to confirm that what it's putting out is appropriate. So the software that we got, as an example, where I was talking about the board minutes that you can upload and it'll analyze it. Another piece of that is that it's very similar to ChatGPT. You can ask it a question, but what it references is only GAAP. So it can't go to Google, it can't go to anything on the internet. It can only reference GAAP. Now, that's much better than referencing anything else. But at the same time, if I ask the question wrong, or I don't give it enough background, or I don't give it enough color to really give it the correct answer, that's still on me. So you can't rely on it still. It's not there yet. And just as an example, software, there's ASC 985 or ASC 350. And sometimes, if I didn't give it enough background, it's gonna push out the wrong one. It's going to say follow ASC 985, and I'm just going to be off in the weeds on the wrong pack. So you have to confirm it. You have to read it. I consult with other partners sometimes. But it does save us so much time, because then I can say, this client is really arguing with me, and can you help me draft an email and type up all the reasons why? Here's his email and his responses. Can you help me type up why ASC 350 is correct and not AS 985? And then it is going to type up an email. It's not great, but it gets you there. And then you can tweak it and review it and still confirm back to GAP, make sure it's appropriate, and it still saves you a lot of time. So ethics-wise, it's still on me. It's still my ethics. I will not abdicate any of that to AI.
So basically, you have to do more check work on AI's outputs.
Yes.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yep.
Before I move on to the next question, any questions from the audience?
Is this on? Okay, so heard you talk a little bit about private equity. And I look at the news and everything, find out about all these companies getting acquired by private equity firms. And I'm wondering, because I remember Jamie Dimon mentioned that there are less publicly traded companies now than there were back in 1980. What is that doing to the accounting field, where we have now less publicly traded companies and more private equity firms owning a whole bunch of firms? Is that cutting down on the number of accountants needed, or is it increasing them? Is this like the next big bad wolf that nobody's talking about, private equity?
Private equity has been around for a long, long time. They are moving into new fields. I will reference back to public company PCAOB work that 0.27% of the firms do it. So it's not going to have a huge effect as far as public companies go. We are constantly turning down clients. There's not enough of us to do this work. It's kind of like when you need new clients, you turn on a spigot, you close it. Whereas on the tax side, you have to hustle a little bit more to get the clients, right? So I don't really see that so much affecting the amount of accounting work that needs to be done. We're so short of accountants that it'll be a wonderful day when we're like, holy cow, we're fully staffed. This is amazing. But yeah, private equity is definitely, they came into the accounting industry, I want to say 5 to 7 years ago, and started making big investments in the accounting industry, and it has changed that aspect. So if they come in and they own more than 50% of the firm, now they're in the driver's seat, and they're dictating the type of clients that we go after, how hard we go after them, those type, different, instead of being the partners, their whole goal is to grow and then sell it to another private equity firm, and then sell to another private equity firm, and then sell to another private equity firm. So it does change that dynamic as far as how they function, the firms themselves.
Hi, I wanted to ask a little bit more about AI. You said that you wanted to invest more into it in the future. How will you determine / how will you know, like, if it was worth the investment, and like what are the steps that you would take to figure that out?
Yeah, so on this most recent one, we do a lot of demos. There's constantly software vendors coming to us, and some of them catch our eye and some of them don't. But we also, I do a lot of reading on the industry. So a lot of tech magazines. I meet all the time with, not all the time, Greg Amend. He's the managing partner of the Spokane Moss Adams. He and I have a great relationship. We go out to lunch. We talk all the time about different things. So really just getting into, again, looking outside of just the client work and constantly looking and seeing what the trends are. There are consultants out there, but we haven't done it yet, that will just help you. Their whole goal is to say, okay, here's all the different AI softwares out there. Here's what the different firms do. They just work with CPA firms. I go to their webinars and watch them. I haven't hired them separately. But typically, we get the software, demo it. We have a team at all different levels, and then we decide whether or not we want to give it a whirl. We also have gotten some software that lasted about a year at our firm before we were like, this is not worth it. So we try to make a good decision, and then we go with it and integrate it into our templates and our processes and procedures and make sure everybody's trained up on it. And then do about a year later, get feedback and see, are people actually using it?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I can.
Can you expand just a little bit? You talked about the ethical code, and you did too, Professor. I think about, I'm a CPA, and the term acts discreditable, no acts discreditable to the profession. Can you talk about that? Because I think one of the greatest things that we have as CPAs is our objectivity, our professional skepticism, and our integrity. And I think that's why people trust us. I don't know if everybody knows this, and you mentioned it, certified public accountant. We're there to protect the public. And we have a state board of accountancy that's going to kick our little you-know-what if we don't do it the right way. So could you just expand a little bit? Because I think that's one of the power, the secret sauce of the CPA.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to us being the trusted advisor. And on the tax side of things, which I believe you were on the tax side, correct?
I didn't get a chance to tell you, but I actually started as an auditor with Ernst & Young.
Oh, okay.
So I did that for 4 years, and then I do a little tax stuff on the side. But no, I was an auditor.
Okay.
So I was, and people don't always say, it's funny that when you're an auditor, when you come in and you're not necessarily the most, people don't love auditors. But we fulfill an important role. So I did start as an auditor, absolutely.
Gotcha. Yeah, so on the audit side, we kind of sit on the other side of the table. Then on the tax side, you're kind of sitting on the same side of the table as the client. So you're working with them, you're trying to save them money, you're trying to do all these great things. On the audit side, you're coming in, and I'm like, I love you to pieces. I'm glad that you're telling me that this is all legitimate revenue. So now I just need you to prove it. That's all. There can be a lot of arguments. There can be, so sometimes I'm on the phone with people all over the country, and so we're talking different time zones, different egos, CFO, the SEC attorney, the CEO. They're wondering why the audit's taking so long. And it's like, well, we keep asking for the same thing. They don't have it. We're getting this. There's a lot of pressure. If we don't file tomorrow, and these are true stories, we don't file tomorrow, our stock is no longer going to be trading. I will be in default, and I'll owe $17 million to this stockholder. So there's that kind of pressure where they're coming at you, they're coming hard, and there's negotiations that occur constantly where you're with them like, look, I've been telling you for 2 months that if you don't get me this information by this date and time, you're not going to be filing on time. You've blown by that. I told you, okay, I'm willing to work the next couple weekends if you get it to me by this point. You blew by that. And so now, I'm sorry, but if you weren't willing to work weekends and evenings to get it to me on time, this is on you. So an act discreditable would be me saying, okay, I'm going to let you file tomorrow, but with the understanding it's never going to happen again, right? I'm gonna believe you when you tell me that this is all legitimate and that you have it and that it's in the mail. Those are all things that you just can't do. And you have to be willing to lose the client. And that is one thing that is the tone at the top, where you're constantly telling our staff and our people, I don't care if we have to lose clients. We can go get more. What's more important is that you don't lose your license. That's more important, isn't it? It's more important that the firm doesn't get in trouble. These are all things that it's not always easy to do. And you ease into it. You don't come fresh out of college into that conversation, let me tell you. It is down the road. And a lot of the times they're like, ooh, they're getting spicy. And I'm like, just let me take over. So it's one of those things where you learn how to do it. These are the soft skills that you have to learn how to do. But again, you just can't bend. That will ruin our whole profession. So.
Okay, I guess I can ask another question. I just read a recent report saying that accounting profession in U.S. is facing aging workforce and also shrinking talent pipeline, right? And I think the report also mentioned 75% of the current accountants are close to retirement age. And last year, CPA application rate dropped by 30%. So it's very alarming. I think this is unprecedented in the history, right? Is that consistent with what you see in the field? And what firms or companies are doing to fill up those needs?
Yeah, it's actually very concerning. In the last year, it feels like it got a little bit better. But I can't remember the exact statistics, but it was like for every 10 or 12 CPAs retiring right now, there's like half of a CPA to replace them. It's something ridiculous, which is good news for every accounting student. There will be jobs there for you. I can tell you if you look at attorneys retiring versus the number of law students, it's pretty flat and even. So it's good news for you guys. For firms that are trying to grow and expand or to even just stay where they are, it is hard. You have to adapt. You have to pivot. You have to learn how to be more efficient, get more done in less time, which is why we embrace change. We embrace technology. We love AI. We want to embrace that and make that work for us as much as possible. Not to cut positions, but to supplement and to bring entry-level people, bring them along faster, get them to the point of managing jobs faster, pushing them along faster. So technology is what's going to make all of that secret sauce happen. That's it already. I can see some of the people from last year that were doing these manual jobs that are now learning the software and analyzing it at a much higher level because they're not in the weeds as much. So it is scary. I'm thankful that they're looking at, and recently I think they might have changed it, but that they're looking at making changes to being eligible to sit for the CPA exam, not making it so onerous to get there. So yeah, that's been in our industry for a decade. It's been rough.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very helpful to understand the field. Yeah. Other questions from the audience? I always have more questions.
Is it okay if I ask another?
Sure.
Going back to your integrity, and you were mentioning that a lot of these private equity firms, they want to grow the company and then pass it along to the next one. So are they putting, could there be some undue pressure put on accounting firms owned by private equity firms to be like, hey, we want higher revenues. How about drop all these roles? Or, hey, we have this company we own. Make their revenue look a little better. Could there be some undue influence with private equity ownership where the owners of these private equity firms are not familiar with accounting or any of the ethics standards or anything like that? Is there a door opening to possible integrity views being shifted by the public due to private equity ownership?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as an example, there's something called alternative practice structure. So if there's private equity that came in and there's an attest side of the business, so that's audit, those type things where we're opining and we have to be independent. They're not allowed to own, they're not supposed to own any piece of that. So there may be a management agreement between them, the private equity in the parent company, and then an attest separate entity where there's a management agreement. But if they're still part of the management agreement, they're prohibited from working with any of those companies. So they can't say, hey, make their revenues look better from an audit standpoint. Now, if they have bookkeepers and they're saying, hey, make their revenue look better, make these journal entries do that, that's always a risk. But yeah, the private equity, they come in and they just have a different goal. Their goal is to make money. It's not the same goal as us, which is, yes, we want to make money, but we're also here to serve the public. So it does change the dynamic, and it's still relatively new. I will say that when the government comes in and does our inspections and goes through our papers, because of the PCAOB work, they're required to come in and do these inspections. Every time they ask us, do you have private equity yet? Have you done that yet? They are concerned about it. They haven't formed the legislation yet for what that looks like, but they're on it and they're looking at it, and I'm not sure how that's going to shake out. The attorneys for all these different firms with the private equity have created the alternative practice structure to avoid that. I hope that answers your question.
One question? Okay. Just.
Alrighty. It kind of just piggybacks almost on the question you were asking just 2 questions ago. So just on your thoughts of this is, since the workforce is shrinking and the more the older generation are retiring, the accountants and all these different firms. So then you would think that it's more scarce for all these accountants to get into these jobs. Would that just your thoughts for that would make it more competitive for the companies to want to hire all the different accountant people? Would you think that would cause potentially other companies to buy out other companies so they can take over their the accountant employees, not steal them, but kind of steal them in a sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You are correct. So we get people coming wanting to buy us. We get offers for acquisition all the time. Not all the time, but within reason. And a lot of them say, we just want your people. That's what they want. We know your people. We've worked with your people. We want all of you. Come. So that is a lot of what driving those mergers. Excuse me. I would say about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when there were acquisitions, it was acquiring the clients. You didn't really need the people. And now it's definitely going after the talent. And again, great news for all the accounting students out there. We also compete and hustle for students and interns and all that. We're trying to find the best talent. We know that we're competing with other firms. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
I guess I'm out of time, Patrick? Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Kemper.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't leave the stage, Kemper. We have a little gift coming your way. EWU, are you available or somebody to bring that up? And there we go. Oh, it's from Lorna. So a little token of our appreciation for coming and enlightening us here, Kemper. A plaque to remember this evening by.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.